Folks, we are going to talk about a secret and sometimes misunderstood strategy that truly wealthy real estate investors use. We're going to talk about some of the biggest use it. We're going to talk about how you can use it to upgrade your portfolio. We're going to talk about how I have used it. And of course, we're going to catch up with Cody and see how he is using this secret wealth building hack in his journey to get a more efficient portfolio. Cody, man, how you doing? Thanks for coming back.
Doing good since we last spoke. Sold my sixplex. On the topic of today, buying a brand new sevenplex with a 1031. So I can't complain.
So let's just talk about what a 1031 is. Exchange again at a high level. Again, folks, go do your Google search if you really want to get into it. But why don't you, Cody, talk about what a 1031 exchange is from your perspective?
Yeah, well, the idea is you buy stuff to make money, and what you originally bought may not be what you want to hold forever. You might be doing a shorter term play. And the 1031 is a tool to transition those midterm, short-term rentals into a better long-term fit for your overall portfolio in the optimization phase. So you get a gain on something, you transfer that gain without paying the taxes now, so you can go buy a bigger, better product. And if you ever choose to sell that, then you would have a lot more taxes at that point. But it allows you to grow and defer the taxes so you can truly optimize your portfolio for whatever it is you're looking for.
Yeah, there's a strategy out there that a lot of very big real estate players use. I mean, people that are 5, 10, 15, 20x bigger than you and I, Cody, just called 1031 till you die. Because it's one of those strategies. They buy a large asset, they depreciate it to zero, then they sell that asset, they roll the money into a larger asset like kind, and then they just start the whole game over again. So a 1031 exchange is a strategy that very large real estate players use to essentially get to the end of life and all of that. What you're doing is even something more sophisticated, more efficient, is you're upgrading your portfolio, right? You sold a 6, bought a 7. On the surface, so what? Who cares? But in reality, you have sold an old asset that's got, 50, 80 years on it, and you're rolling all of that equity into a brand spanking new building, which means less maintenance, less this, less that. So again, you are truly upgrading your portfolio in every sense of the word. Not only unit count, but you're significantly lowering the age of your portfolio.
And the 1031 allows me to do what I got. I got a couple takeaways from talking with you over the last couple of years, but more isn't necessarily better, but better is better. And it's always better. So going from that old product, whatever gets you to where you're at, it's not necessarily going to get you to the next level. I bought that sixplex seller financed, and I'm buying the sevenplex seller financed. So I'm just moving the equity from the old to the new. And the new sevenplex with a $12,500 rent roll, by every definition, is better than a sixplex with a $5,800 rent roll that's 70 years old. Everything was better about the deal, so it made sense. If the sevenplex didn't make as much money or didn't cash flow, that wouldn't have been a smart trade, but it is truly better in every aspect, and so it makes sense to move the money up.
Yeah, 1031 exchange was a critical component, really a pivot point for Olivia and I. If it's all in my book, One Rental at a Time, but basically if we rewind the clock, 2006, Olivia and I are holding 8 single-family homes, and we go to an event that basically says California is going to crash. Long story short, I do a lot of research, validate what the speaker, Bruce Norris, was saying. I thought Bruce Norris was right. So we sold. But really, we didn't sell. We exchanged. So I want people to realize this. We sold a house, Norris Drive. I talk about it all the time, that we bought for $107. We sold it for $265. So we took all of that equity and we rolled it into an apartment building we still own today. No new capital. Nothing. It's just equity for equity. And the beauty that both of us are doing, you with your sevenplex, us with our small unit, is we skip the IRS. The IRS isn't our partner, right? We didn't pay them their 20% VIG or whatever it was. because we rolled it over. That's the beauty of the exchanges. You take all of the equity, all of the gain, and you move it into this new asset. Now there are some rules and timelines. Again, Google search them to understand those, but it is truly powerful when used on purpose.
Well, and what I found is if I just sold and took the money, while I would get a check for about 175 at close, because of depreciation, because of my basis, my tax hit on that would be massive.
Yeah.
And
depreciation recapture is a big thing.
It's almost just unfair. I mean, it's a great advantage while you own it, but it's a huge reason not to sell just to get the money. You don't want the money. I can't imagine having held it for 10 years and then trying to imagine the sticker shock of that. But being able to avoid that obligation to the IRS and move it into a bigger building allows me to buy, I'm selling a $600,000 asset and buy $1,650,000 asset.
Exactly.
I could not do that if I just sold it traditionally, took the money and tried to buy up.
No, and you get a big old IRS statement, whenever you filed your taxes and said, hey, thank you. By the way, you owe us a lot more money with this depreciation recapture.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And so my encouragement for folks is to try and figure out whatever gets you to where you're at is great, but whatever is better for the overall portfolio, consider the 1031, consider transitioning your money from point A to point B to optimize either for your cash flow, for building quality, debt quality. Maybe you have a debt product come due and you can get into a new long-term fixed rate debt. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ways to spin it, but it's a fantastic tool.
Yeah. And is this your first one? Is this your first 1031?
Well, the crazy thing, I'm doing two at once, and it's my first.
Okay. All right.
So I sold a triplex. I'm doing a 50-40-10 to buy an eightplex.
Oh, we're nice.
I got a local hard money lender to where I live to fund 50, and then I got the seller for 40%, and then I'm doing 10% down. So I'm transitioning 70,000 out of a triplex into an eightplex, which I couldn't buy traditionally. Nice. And got enough value add there to where I should be able to do a conservative burr on it. I'm planning to keep my down payment in the deal, but we'll see where the market's at for rates and all that. But I should be able to refinance it within first 6 months. But I've got a 3-year window on my debt, so I'm happy there. And then the 7plex is
the 50-40-10 is a magical thing if you can find the right seller, right? Because they got to have a lot of equity, obviously. Mm-hmm. But you got to think about the seller. They're going to walk away with 60% of the money, right? You're 10% down. The banks or the hard money lender, in this case, 50. And they just hold in second position. Second position is risky, right? It's riskier than the first. We shouldn't ignore that. But if they wanted, they could pay off the first. They have the cash, in theory. Mm-hmm. So their position is somewhat secured. And I like the fact that you have a 6-month plan, but a 3-year window that shows that you're experienced. A lot of folks would have done, hey, I have a 6-month window. Give me a 1-year period. That is too stressful, right? Who knows where rates are, the lending environment, all kinds of stuff could change this year. So it shows that you're gaining experience and wisdom to not have that time pressure. So nice work.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just the timelines with options and obligations, right? Things you can do versus things you have to do. And I want a lot of things I can do. I don't want a lot of things I have to do. Yes. And unfortunately, with the 1031, you do have things you have to do with timelines. And so that can be stressful for people. And it's a good encouragement to really research those. But once you learn them and you build a game plan around them, it's a great opportunity. And especially with the 50-40-10, I heard that for the first time a couple months ago from your channel. And you said, hey, I want to see some people do this with apartment buildings. And so I was like, I'm going to do this, and made 2 calls and got 2 deals under contract for it.
The silver-tongued devil, Cody Davis.
We made it.
Oh, man, I love it. Dude, you're just such an inspiration. Where does that come from? Right? You hear something, you internalize it, and then you take action. It's second nature to you. So sometimes when it's your superpower, you don't realize that you're unique. Your superpower, my opinion, is to capture a lot of information, put it inside your salt shaker, your head, figure out which pieces you want to use, and then you just flat out execute. That's not normal. That is awesome.
I just try and make it as simple as possible. That's my encouragement for folks. There's a lot of ambiguity out there, and that'll slow you up. But from my background, I had been doing 90% seller finance. I'm asking the seller for a whole lot. That had been the norm. I'm typically putting 5, 10, 15, 20% down. So going to these sellers, it was such a different conversation. I'm not asking for all the world and then some.
Yeah.
I'm asking for half of what I usually ask for. So in my mind, the level of confidence,
you're giving them a deal.
It's a great deal. And it was just a much easier pitch because I had built the business off of asking for everything and then some, and I'd give them their price.
Right.
This time I got a little bit better of a price, and I was asking for a lot less from them.
Yes.
So in my mind, it was a no-brainer. And I feel like the confidence that I was able to portray, because the guy who's selling me these buildings, I just met him at his hotel. He owns a bunch of hotels. And he was like, so how are we doing this? I was like, well, you're just going to lend me this amount for this amount of time in second position. I'm going to do this value add strategy. I'm going to make it worth this amount more than you're selling it to me. And that's how I'm going to pay you off. And I showed him the upside.
Right.
But he wants to know that he's covered. And
yeah. He doesn't want to think about it again. That's all he wants is he's willing to do it. He just doesn't want to think about it. He wants security.
Yeah. And you got to show people that you're going to make money. People try and tailor it to where they make all the money or one person makes all the money. You should show them, hey, look, this is the price you want. This is my plan so that I make this profitable for me.
Yes.
Because otherwise it's not transparent. And you need to be transparent. You need to show them, this is how I'm going to win, because that's the question in the back of people's minds. What's this person's angle? Show them your angle. And so that's what I've done consistently.
I love that. I'm curious, as you look at your portfolio, as you look at these first couple of 1031 exchanges, is it fair to say that you're evaluating the rest of your 90 some odd units to see what else might make sense to upgrade, right? Go from older to younger. Is that something you're doing?
Yeah, I'm shopping all of my projects right now that I can't build on, because I've got some properties where I can build. So I'll keep those. But all the ones I can't, I'm shopping them. So I've got a 27-plex that I'm considering selling. And I have enough equity in that to buy a brand new construction 27-plex.
Wow.
10% down. So and I'm talking with that owner to see if we could do the shift, but that would take the rent roll from, I think it's like $24,500 a month to over $50,000 a month. Ooh. And it was built in the last 8 years. So I'm absolutely looking at shifting pieces and not necessarily increasing the unit count, but definitely increasing the top line and the bottom line and the asset quality.
Lowering the age. So it's fair to say maybe in a couple of years, the average age of the assets you own will be cut in half, perhaps?
It's going to go from 70 plus years old to less than 20 years. Yeah.
There you go. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow. Super stoked. But again, I could only do that with the 1031. But that's not where you start. This is like the second and third stage for a lot of people. You got to get started where you can. And it just starts with the first rental, no matter what size it is.
One rental at a time. It is that simple. For us, it was 8 houses in a row, and then we 1031. You're absolutely right. This is a fun strategy. It is fun to show people where they can go, but you're right. I love the fact you said that. You don't start here, but you can get here. And I think you get here a lot faster than you may appreciate. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. You get started with the first one. Before you know it, you got a second and a third rental. You get to that number 4, and then you decide, hey, let's optimize it and trade up.
I love it. Folks, let us know, what questions do you have for Cody? What would you like to know? Let me know in the comments below. Cody and I speak every Monday early afternoon. So let me know what questions you have for this young man. I'm sure you have some. Leave comments below. Cody, give us your closing thoughts, and thanks again.
Whatever gets you to where you're at, it's not going to get you to the next level. So you get started, you're going to learn your lessons. And hopefully you don't keep repeating those lessons, but scale up over time to whatever it is you feel you need. And if you realize you don't need all that. Optimize for what you want.
There you go. Cody, you're amazing, man. Take care.
Good to see you.